Okay, so what we're going to be doing today is going over discovery education, and we're going to be using discovery education to help us learn about Beowulf. And I had a real problem. The reason we're doing this today and not going back to the Media Center today, which I was planning on doing, is because while we were doing things in the Media Center, I realized that a lot of you don't really have the skill of inferencing. Inferencing is kind of guessing at what the point is, guessing at what is supposed to be there, guessing at the culture, guessing at the ideas within the text based on the evidence in the text. So if you see Beowulf is going after Grendel, right, and he throws his sword down and fights him with his bare hands, what's that saying about Grendel? It's saying that he's strong, it's saying he's courageous, it's saying he doesn't want a sword. Saying that the sword would make him seem weaker. But that's an inference. It doesn't tell you that in the text. You have to infer that information. And so on some of your topics like loyalty, strength, courage, and destiny or fate, right? You have to infer how you get that from the text, how you get that from Beowulf. So the problem there is we don't infer well. So we're going to do a lesson today on inferring, on inferencing. So I want you to get just with your neighbor, talk with your neighbor, and answer this question. You don't have to write it down. Just come up with a good answer, and I'll call in a couple groups to tell us what they said. But what is culture? So with your neighbor, just discuss that for a minute or two. What is culture? Have a good answer when I call it. Okay, go ahead. I'll have a card. Turn around. You can be free. So what is culture? Alright, so you probably have something. I smell peppers too.
They smell like
crackers. Okay.
I mean, why you calling out?
Alright, so let's focus in.
That is a culture. You don't call them like that.
Guys, calm down. Let's focus in. Chris, I heard your group had a good answer. What you said culture was something.
Religion.
Religion. So that's a good one. Okay. Religion.
Ethnicity.
Alright, ethnicity. So culture is people groups. Okay? Traditions. Okay? What do you say, beliefs. What else? What else is culture? What do you think culture is?
Oh, I got a whole definition.
Say it again?
Like music and food.
Music and food.
Can I just say out like your own definition of it? Like
go ahead, Buzz. Let's hear it.
The quality of a person.
Listen to it, please.
The quality of a person or their society that comes from their concern regarded as arts, letters, manners, and scholarly
Okay, so I heard arts, manners, and education in there. Okay? Yes.
Holidays?
Holidays. Okay. Festivals, holidays.
Clothing.
So style, maybe?
It's not culture. That's
clothing. We're not knocking down ideas right now, we're just compiling
Can I say
ideas.
one thing? If they had a Gucci store in Africa, they would mostly be wearing Gucci, right? It's the stuff that you have in your environment, right? If we didn't have jeans here, we wouldn't be wearing jeans, right? Am I correct or not? You're false. False.
Chris,
False.
we're not debating right now. It's not a debate. It's simply compiling a list. Okay, so we have, let's look at them. Music, food, festivals, holidays, religion, people groups, traditions, beliefs, arts, manners, education, style, clothing. Yeah, Culture is all of those things. Culture is what makes our people group different from another people group. It's how things change. Yeah, we can throw language up there. And each culture has certain ideals, certain like we're doing in Baylor, they have certain morals that they hold to, whether it's strength or loyalty and courage, like we're doing in our papers. So all of these show us what those ideals are, and all of these show us who those people are, and we can gain an idea of how people do these things by reading books, by being an archaeologist and going and looking for different things within the earth, by looking at their artwork, by looking at listening to their music or listening to words from songs or words of stories that they've passed down and just told year after year after year, and we can learn things from their culture by looking at these sort of things. Okay, so that's kind of what we're going to do today. See, so I've got a paper I'm going to pass out to you. We're going to use the side that says, I think they both do. The side that has writing in the first column here, we're going to use that side first. So go ahead and put your name on it because you will be turning it in. Gavin gets one. Make sure your name's on that, please. Okay, so on the bottom of this first sheet, remember, is the ones that have words in the column here. Right, 5 things that if someone looked at our culture, let's see, someone was 600 years, 700 years in the future. So let's say they're coming from 2800 AD, right? If they looked at our culture now, what 5 things would be important for them to see as artifacts for them to understand what our culture is all about? So write 5 things here. Don't say them. Write them individually right here. 5 things.
From what time?
So about 700 years, 800 years in the future, if they look back on our culture, what things would show them what our culture is like? So go ahead and write those down. 5 things.
On what side?
Everything. Anything in our culture. Now, any of these, any physical structure, anything. Anything. Any words. You're not going to be necessarily wrong by putting something down. I just want to see what's the most important thing to you. What do you think they can infer about our culture?
In what box do we write this?
We're not putting it in the box. You're putting it at the bottom, below the box.
Cars.
All right, Tamara, which one do you have? Just one.
I got cell phones.
Cell phones, okay, so people look at us, see those cell phones, they're going to have some idea of what's going on. Hopefully they realize it talks to you, and if you talk to them, they might not, right? What do you have, Gavin, what's one?
No, does it matter how big it is?
No, what's one you have?
Computers.
Computers, okay, so same thing. Now, would you give them like a big old computer, like a big monitor and a big old desktop, or would you give them a laptop, or would you give them an iPad?
Give them a Mac.
Right, what would express our culture better? A Mac, maybe? What do you think?
I put just the whole public technology.
Okay, just pieces of technology. Okay.
Music.
Yeah.
Music books will do.
John says books. Okay, yeah.
Languages.
So books for languages. Good, Shayla.
I put fashion.
Fashion. Okay, different styles of clothing. Maybe a fashion magazine. Okay, or you just clothes in general. Okay, good. Yes.
Bible and religion.
The Bible. Okay. Maybe the Bible, maybe a Quran, because those are 2 big religions right now.
It might gonna be big religion right now.
It just is.
If we just write it down, it's not your religion. You just play it. You play God. That's not
Again, we're not arguing about this. We're just saying these are things that they would see culture with. It's not a debate. Okay, yes ma'am, Judith. How we treat people. So how can we show how we treat people? What, like a TV show maybe?
How we interact with other people.
But how would somebody 800 years from now see that?
How would they
Maybe in a movie or a
Yeah,
TV show?
yeah.
Okay. Which TV show might be most real to life?
Nothing at all.
Yeah, something real earth.
So we don't want them to see. We don't want them to look at our movies on TV to show them how our culture is.
Movies alright, but
Five burgers.
I love that show.
Other.
So that's a good idea there. So not everything. Listen, guys. Not everything that we see when we look back into a culture means that's what their culture was like. Because if people look back and see Star Wars, and we have a movie Star Wars, they might think that our culture was like that. But is it? No. So sometimes your inference can be wrong because you're looking at the object as something real to life, and it really is not. It's something created. But when we think about Star Wars, we can think about our culture thinking they were looking at how to get to space. They were looking at how to extend their culture past the Earth. So that is something we try to do. Right? So we just have to look at it the right way. We have to look at the objects. We have to look at the archaeological evidence. We have to look at the culture in the right way. So it takes some inferencing. It takes some work. So what we're going to do now, you should have 5 on your sheet. I'll be looking at those later. What we're going to do now is watch a video. It's about 3.5 minutes. Because there's a lot of extra talking going on. On our chart here, you said how he died. So we're going to be looking at the Iceman. Okay? How did the Iceman die? The next one is how he earned his living. So what did he do to make money or to provide food for his family? We're not answering yet. And how was he killed? So 3 things. How he died, how he earned his living, and how he was killed. Now, how he was killed and how he died are similar ideas. So listen to the video to see the distinction. Okay? It's about 3.5 minutes. Shouldn't take long. Make sure you're writing down as you go. The first column, you're saying what are the inferences made. So you're just, what do they say the inferences are? Okay? So the inferences are, they're kind of, an inference is an educated guess. They're guessing toward the conclusion. Okay? And then they don't just guess towards the conclusion. They guess because they have some sort of evidence to back it up. They don't just say, oh, he was on a mountain, so he must have been hiking. They don't just say that. They say he must have been hiking because he had hiking shoes on, because he had extra food in his pack, because he, whatever. But they have to have clues to go along with it. Yes? They're going to tell you. Yeah, you put the answers in the box as you watch. No, nothing's going in the first row. You're putting it, or the first column. Everything goes in the second and third column. Just watching, please.
In 1991, hikers in the Alps stumbled on the body.
What? The volume turned off. Let me start.
Hikers realized that this wasn't the body of one of the hikers who go missing every year in this
Start again.
alpine region. In 1991, hikers in the Alps stumbled on the body of a man, mummified and frozen. It was visible because the ice was melting. After looking over the body, the hikers realized that this wasn't the body of one of the hikers who go missing every year in this alpine region. This was a man who had died more than 5,000 years ago. In fact, after careful study, scientists found that he's the oldest human ever found, a man 5,300 years old. Scientists call him EWSHS, or the Iceman. How he died became clear pretty quickly. Inferring from the evidence, an arrowhead lodged in the Iceman's back led to the conclusion that he was murdered. EWSHS was an immediate archaeological sensation. Research teams eagerly studied both the mummy and his incredibly well-preserved clothing. leather shoes, a woven grass cloak, and goatskin leggings. From these remains, could archaeologists predict who he was, how he lived, and why he died up here in the mountains? Based on the evidence, many researchers thought that Ötzi must have been an alpine shepherd, leading goats and sheep to high-altitude pastures in the summer. Shepherds today still herd livestock along the same path where Ötzi was found. If Ötzi was a shepherd, perhaps he was killed for his sheep. Two anthropologists, Sylvia Reinhardt and Hans Plotzkammer, and Anna Pedrotti, an archaeologist, decided to test this theory. They started by making an exact duplicate of Ötzi's clothes. The clothes would help the researchers model how Ötzi lived. When they were done, Hans donned the outfit. He would find out firsthand whether it could have held up to the tough life of an alpine shepherd. As Hans set off up the mountain on foot, Sylvia and Anna took the easy route, by helicopter. For Hans, it was a grueling 1,200-meter climb to model the Iceman's apparent journey. From the mountaintop, Sylvia and Anna could see that Hans was having trouble. At last he arrived exhausted. His shoes were a disaster. They had no traction and they hadn't kept the water out at all. The poor performance of the shoes indicated that Ötzi probably wasn't a shepherd. Someone wearing shoes like this couldn't make the 1,200-meter mountain climb regularly. But if Ötzi wasn't a shepherd, why was he up here? And why was he killed? Years of examination have not yet come up with an answer, but researchers have not given up. They are confident that with more study, and maybe even new technology, the Iceman will reveal the story of his life and death. How did the scientists follow the steps of observing, inferring, predicting, and modeling in their study of the Iceman?
Okay.
I didn't hear it, man.
Only got one side.
So let's look at it real quick. Now, you weren't supposed to get the other side.
What, like
You're just supposed to get those 6 boxes here. Let's look at it.
Oh,
Okay.
you got the three.
So how did he die? Okay, arrow. He was murdered. So let's go ahead. How did he die?
He was murdered.
He was murdered. So you go ahead and write murder in there. Now, how do we know that? I heard it. Arrowhead, right? So he had an arrowhead in his back, so we can assume, we can infer by the evidence of an arrowhead in his back that he was murdered. We don't know that for sure. He might have just had an arrowhead in his back. Like maybe he was shot with an arrowhead in the back, and a doctor never took it out, or they didn't have doctors, but someone never took that arrow out of his back, so he just lived with it in his back, and he died maybe from heart complications. We can't see that because all his insides had dried out.
Did never think of frostbite?
Right, so he could have died of frostbite, yeah. He could have died of some skin disease. So we don't know for sure, but we think the inference is he was murdered. And the reason we think that is because not many people walk around with arrowheads in their skin. So he was probably shot, and he was shot in the back. So he was probably murdered in an unfair fight. Someone shot him in the back.
But he could have been an intruder.
He could have been an intruder, but I guess if there were no structures around, then we could kind of pull that out. But if you find structures around, like houses and things, maybe he was an intruder. So we don't know. That's the point. The point is we're inferring what the answer is. And that's what I need you to do in your Beowulf essay. We're reading Beowulf, and we're reading those articles. You need to infer what the answer is. It's not just going to jump out at you. Think about it. Think about if women and children didn't have their husbands around because the husbands were all fighting, and they had to do everything else. They're strong. Why? Because they had to do everything. And they didn't have electricity. They didn't have the modern conveniences we do. So in the Anglo-Saxon time, those women had to be strong. And if they weren't valued as people. Now, they weren't really valued as people anyway because they were women. But they wouldn't be valued as women if they couldn't do those strength, if they couldn't do those things. So strength was valued. That's an inference we make from the evidence we see. It's not something that's just written down in the articles. Okay? The next one, how did he earn a living?
Livestock.
Shepherding, yeah, with livestock. And we knew that because of what?
It's closed.
Because of his clothes, but also because of...
All the sheep that were around him.
No one was sleeping around.
Yeah, there wasn't anything because it was all
It was a
ice melting.
They should have found it near.
Yeah, it's a shepherd trail. So it is where shepherds usually went up to have their sheep feed. That's where they went and got food. So why would he be there unless he was a shepherd? So we're inferring that he ended up living by being a shepherd because he was there, where shepherds usually are, and because of his clothing. All right, and then the last one. How was he killed? Right, and again, for that one, he was killed for, we think, I guess the better question would be, why was he killed? But we can think that he was shot for his sheep. That someone wanted to steal his sheep. Because if he was a shepherd, why else would you kill another person? Unless they're an intruder, but usually shepherds didn't go inside very often. So yeah, he's probably shot for his sheep. And how do we know that? Because he's probably a shepherd. But we can kind of refute that he was a shepherd or a hiker. Why? Because his shoes didn't hold up. They did a scientific experiment where they sent somebody out with the same shoes that he had on, not the same ones, but modeled after it, and they didn't hold up in all the hiking. So we know he wasn't really a shepherd that walked long distances. He must have either lived around there or something was up because his shoes wouldn't have held up. Okay, so there's a lot of unknowns, right? There's a lot of unknowns, but there's a few things we can pull out that are factual, or at least we think they're factual because of all the information we have and all the evidence we have. And those are our emphasis. That's what we hold on to. Okay? So why was he killed, the last one? For his sheep. Evidence support, he was a shepherd, and he died. Okay, so now I'm going to show you some pictures. Yeah. Let me pull the pictures up. So go ahead and get in groups of 3 while I'm doing this. Go ahead and get in groups of 3. You want to stay in your desk, so you might want to move desks or bring a chair over from the back, but get in a group of 3. You guys are going to answer the other side together. Okay, so on your sheet, the image here, yeah, on the back, flip it over, this is with your group. Listen, please. You're going to put this here, artifacts from Han Imperial Tomb. So that's the first box right here, under image. Han Imperial Tomb. Now, what are the details and the evidence from here? And then you're going to make an inference. What do you think these were used for? What was the purpose of these? So you're going to tell me what the image is, Han Imperial Tomb, that's the first box. The second box is what are the details? What's the evidence that you see? And then the third box, what inferences can you make about those objects? What were they used for? What's the purpose? What did that mean to the culture? So go ahead, I'm going to give you about 3 minutes on this one, talk as a group, and fill out your That's what I want you to think of.
You call it a staff or like?
That's your group, that's why you have group.
You call it a staff.
That's right. Get with your group.
The name of the picture is on Imperial. Will you write that? Like, you see the word?
Yeah, you're going to have 2 more pictures, so just do the first row right now.
Wait, we do all 4 of those pictures?
Yeah, all 4 of the pictures in the first row.
What do you got?
One, yeah, it's 5 or 4 things, but it's 1 picture. So you're that's from 1 place. So we're trying to figure out about the Han Imperial tomb by those 4 pictures.
Are you going to tell us about the map?
That's all you have.
Are you going to tell us about the map?
That's all you just think about that.
Bottom left.
We'll talk about
How
it.
do you do this? How do you do that?
Yeah, he was definitely on like. Probably for you.
See if I can make it a little larger.
They probably like
I
set
can't.
What are...
Here we go.
That face
We'll add 1 more. That's what came up when I put a large image. So now you got another image. But that's all the first row. What do you think? Alright, so you should be on the inferencing box by now. So inferring what it is. Inferring what it is, what it was used for.
It's like orange.
Wait, it's like Florida. Someone else in Florida.
They say Florida.
Yes, Florida.
That's how my mom says it.
Okay. So let's talk about this one for a second. Let me get Sarai's group. What do you think? So the first one, details and evidence. What details, what evidence do you see? Listen to that group, please. What details and evidence do you see? What did you write down?
I see a
Old rusty vase.
Okay, old rusty vase.
And the words, this looks like it was used for anything, maybe like a statue.
Okay, maybe a statue or a symbol. Maybe a god or something.
Yeah.
Okay. What about this thing? Maybe something kingly, maybe it's something he held. It looked like it has a big base, so maybe it was set on the ground somewhere. What are these?
Those are earrings.
Maybe earrings? Yeah, it doesn't really show a size, does it? So if it's small like that, maybe earring. What if it's big?
Yeah, it's probably like a statue.
Statue? Maybe a table leg?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's what I said.
Yeah, we don't know. But we can put in the inferences. Okay, we think maybe this is a table leg. Maybe this was used for what? Water, wine. Maybe this was used maybe as a king's, something he carried around. Maybe it was used for incense to make the fruit smell good. Maybe this was used as a, maybe a spittoon. Maybe this was used for God or just ordinary, decorative stuff. We don't know, but you should have something in your row. And the scientists figure this stuff out, and this is kind of the process they have to go through. Janae was getting mad at me because I wouldn't tell her what it was over there. There's a reason for that. We don't know. We infer and we make guesses, but we really don't know. So for us to learn about a culture, we have to make inferences. For us to learn about Beowulf's Anglo-Saxon culture, we need to make inferences. We need to do the same thing we're doing here, just in text. And it's hard, I know that. And we get frustrated, I know that. But we still have to work at it. Okay, let's go to the next
Or
one.
they chai or chi, how you pronounce it, right?
Like the guy.
Yeah. So they have
Yeah.
Assume is when you spit it, right?
All right, so we'll go to the next one.
a stalker.
What happened?
Okay, so with your group, you should have something down for this one. Listen, when the bell rings, go ahead and put your papers in the box as you leave. Okay?
Scroll up.
This one is Native American artifacts. So Native American artifacts. What do you think they mean? So once you finish this one, like I said, just put your papers in the box as you leave the door.